all of you for this special session of the 100 webinar series initiated by iHub Gujarat, the Gujarat Student Startup and Innovation Hub, which is a special initiative of Department of Education and Government of Gujarat to create innovation and startup ecosystem across academia in the state of Gujarat. At this outset, I would like to welcome Sharma Madam, the Principal Secretary, Higher and Technical Education, Government of Gujarat, and also Chairperson of iHub. I would like to welcome Shri Ramanan sir, Managing Director of Atal Innovation Mission and Additional Secretary NITI Aayog. And there are a lot of Vice Chancellors who are attending today this special session, who are keen to listen from you and Madam both how they will create innovation and startup ecosystem in their universities. A dozen of our state universities have already set up incubators, and due to student startup and innovation policy, more than 150 colleges have already set up 3 incubation centers by now. So all of them are excited to learn from you today, sir. And particularly in this context of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, how innovation and entrepreneurship is going to play a critical role. That's one thing that each of us would like to learn from you. Having said that, we would also like to learn from your efforts at Atal Innovation Mission, which is a flagship body under NITI Aayog, to create a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in the whole nation. Before I request you to formally start your talk, I will introduce you to our audience today. Ramanan sir is now the Managing Director of Atal Innovation Mission, a special initiative of NITI Aayog. Before that, he has been a corporate veteran, and he has been throughout his career worked in information technology, strategy, innovation, and allied areas. He was Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of CMC Limited, which is a subsidiary of globally acclaimed Tata Consulting Service. He is an outstanding alumni of IIT Bombay and a distinguished alumni of leadership programs at Harvard Business School and Cambridge University. He has been spearheading the entire policy-making framework of Atal Innovation Mission in terms of setting incubators, creating grand challenges, creating seed funds, and the entire gamut of attributes which is necessary today for creating the innovation entrepreneurship ecosystem across the nation. The very famous program of Atal Tinkering Lab, the Atal Incubation Centers, and the grand challenges. These are some of the very few initiatives that I can highlight here, which were the brainchild of Ramanan sir, who is going to address us today and emphasize how the innovation ecosystem can play a critical role in Atmanirbhar Bharat. Ramanan sir has been a great well-wisher and appreciating person for the Gujarat Startup Ecosystem activities, particularly for the Student Startup and Innovation Policy Initiative. Right from when we started the Student Startup and Innovation Policy under the guidance of Principal Secretary Anju Madam and Honorable Minister Sri Sudas Manji, Ramanan sir has been attending many of our annual conferences and helping us to create a roadmap for taking the Student Startup and Innovation Policy to next level. Having said that, I welcome all of the people who are attending to Facebook Live across universities of Gujarat and all Vice Chancellor, Deans, faculty members, students, innovators, and 500 plus student startups who have been invited today to attend this dedicated session. Sir, welcome you to this special webinar series. Sorry for a little bit glitch in the beginning phase of this session, but I'm sure your insights will be quite helpful for all of us to take our innovation movement to next level. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. Kindly guide us.
Thank you, Hiranmay, and thank you, Dr. Sharma, for giving me the opportunity to interact with the audience today evening. My apologies for the delay, but however, here we are. And I hope everyone who is attending this call and this webinar are safe and sound and healthy and following the safeguards that is being advocated by both the government as well as the health ministry, and practicing all the safeguard practices that we need to follow in this very, very difficult times. COVID-19 has been unprecedented, both in its descending upon us very unexpectedly, but more importantly, the virus has paralyzed nations across the world, disrupted supply chains, created lockdowns, created a tremendous amount of negative impact because of its advent, and has left all of us wondering when it is going to end and what is the future going to be. Because it has also revealed in its wake a whole lot of new challenges that we need to face not only for solving this particular problem that we have, but also in the future. How do we address a similar problem in the future? A simple virus has paralyzed the nations. What about other viruses which are there and which have not been detected? What about a climate change disaster that can come up? What about some supply chain disruption which can happen due to a war or an economy, and so on and so forth? And so, while this has been a challenge that has been thrown to all the people across the world, not just to India, at the same time, we are fortunate to live in a time where we are all bound together in a global economy driven by technology and powered by technology. So as a result of which, we are having this sort of deliberation today. You could not have imagined 10 years before, if such a crisis had hit us, that we would still be operating with essential services, we'd still be having communications going on, we'd still be all working together, whether it is industry, academia, government, and research organizations, to see how we can work together. And if one thing has come out of this COVID-19 crisis, it has brought a tremendous awakening of the fact that gone are the days where you can work in silos and hope to solve the major problems of the world. We all have to work together, whether it is government, whether it is industry, whether it is academia, whether it is research, whether it is universities, whether it is the people. We all have to work together in order to be able to address not only the challenges of this crisis, but also to address new opportunities that are there for us to become a self-reliant country. And that is what the Prime Minister of India has very eloquently brought out during his speech when they launched the 20 lakh crore resurrection of the Indian economy package. He talked about Atmanirbhar Bharat. And what does it mean? It means we need to become a self-reliant country. And he identified 5 pillars which are extraordinarily important, which we need to focus on in order to achieve an Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, what I'm going to speak in the next few 15 minutes or so, or 10 or 15 minutes, is these pillars, each of these pillars, how innovation, entrepreneurship, startups is going to play an extraordinary role in strengthening those pillars. Without innovation, without entrepreneurship, without a problem-solving mindset, without us creating an ecosystem of innovation that can drive solutions for each of these pillars, we will not be able to achieve Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now let's take the first pillar that he talked about. The first pillar he mentioned is that of demographic dividend. We are all very fortunate to live in a country. We have 1.3 billion people. We have 1.4 million schools in our country. We have 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have 39,000 colleges. We have 150 million young students entering into the workplace. We have 65% of our country under 35 years old. We have what they call as this demographic dividend, which is the envy of many a country across the world, right? And people, even China doesn't have the sort of demographic dividend that we have. And upon this 150 million people rides the hopes of the 1.3 billion people that we are talking about. So if we want this pillar to be strong, we have to ensure that this demographic dividend that we have has the ability, has the ecosystem, and has the mindset to address not only the challenges of COVID-19, but the post-COVID-19 world. And therefore, the Atal Innovation Mission, which has been formed under the Niti Aayog, and which is a flagship initiative of the Prime Minister of the country himself, this mission's focus is how do you create and drive an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the length and breadth of the country, so that this demographic dividend, this 150 million young students and students who are entering into the workplace and who are already in the workplace, how do they get a chance, an opportunity to be able to realize their full innovative potential, their full creative potential through this leveraging of this ecosystem. Now, India has never lacked for great innovators, great thinkers, engineers, scientists, you name it. We have had the best in the world, but they have not had that ecosystem here. And therefore, it is important to create that ecosystem. When they go abroad, they do extraordinarily well. You have a Satya Nadella heading Microsoft, a Sundar Pichai heading Google, a Shantanu Narayan heading Adobe. You have a number of Indians leading major universities, whether it is Harvard Business School or MIT and so on and so forth. But if you can create the same ecosystem in India, then you will be able to address the challenges of the country. And that is why the Atal Innovation Mission has launched many initiatives to leverage this demographic dividend. At a school level, we have launched thousands of Atal Tinkering Labs because we want our young school students to acquire a problem-solving, innovative mindset. And that can only happen if you expose them to the latest of technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality, do-it-yourself kits. With these kits, young students in the school between grade 6 to grade 12 learn how to work with technology and how to use technology for solving problems they see every day in and around the community. So we are not asking them, we are not even telling them that this is the problem to be solved. You go and discover the problem, because India is a country of 1 billion people with 1 million challenges. And these million challenges and million opportunities for our young students to solve. And when they go into universities, we are equipping with world-class incubators. And I'm tremendously happy that Gujarat has a number of Atal incubators today, thanks to their dedication, their commitment, and a very good application that they have put up. Now, why are these incubators so important? The incubators are important because we are known as a startup nation. And if we are a startup nation, how do we make sure that the startups succeed? To make them succeed, you need to be able to address various values of death in the startup life cycle. So you have mentoring support needed, you have venture capital support needed, you need access to technology labs, research labs, you need access to hiring support and business planning and strategy support. How do you provide all of this? So that is where the incubators come in. And setting up world-class incubators in India, it would be necessary to be able to provide that ground for the startups to succeed. Now, every incubator, we have launched more than 102 incubators across the country in the last 2 years. And these 102 incubators, 70 of them are fully operational today. And these 70 have fostered 1,500 startups. Now, why I'm saying all of this is, in the COVID-19 crisis, I am very happy to share. We actually, I was coordinating a committee between DBT, DST, BIRAC, the Startup India, Invest India, METI, and NASCOM and CII. We wanted to search for COVID-19 ready to deploy preventive and assistive solutions. And what did we find? We found it was the startup community which gave us all these solutions. More than 1,500 solutions came up from the startup community, which are ready to deploy and ready to scale. And now we have shortlisted 100 of them, or close to 100 of them, for support, financial support and all that stuff. So this demographic dividend is something that is extraordinarily important. The second pillar that we talked about for Atmanirbhar Bharat is that of infrastructure. Now, we are a country with 733 districts. We have 600,000 plus villages. And we have only 8 tier 1 cities. This is a problem that we see in our country today. The whole migration problem is because you have 8 tier 1 cities and 70% of our country is in tier 2, tier 3, rural towns, districts, and so on. And they're all flocking to the 8 tier 1 cities, and that is not a sustainable solution. We have also identified in our country 100 smart cities. How do we make sure that these 100 smart cities become hubs of job innovation and job creation? That is the solution for the problem, for the migration problem. We need 200 plus smart cities in our country so that they become the centers of job creation and job innovation. And in order to do that, we need to have both the physical infrastructure as well as the digital infrastructure. Gone are the days where you can just have a physical infrastructure and be competitive in the rest of the world. So you need physical and smart infrastructure. We need smart cities, we need smart villages, we need communication links, we need 5G technologies. All of this have to come together in order to provide that second pillar, which is the infrastructure pillar. The third pillar he talked about was demand. We have a demand, we don't have the demand problem. This is the great part of India. We have 1.3 billion people. So you don't need to look elsewhere for the demand. You just have to look at what our country needs. And our country needs a whole lot of things because, like I said, how do we ensure that the benefits of innovation reach to the remotest districts of our country? We need to do that. Like I said, we have more than 32 states, 7 union territories, 733 districts. So what we are doing in Atal Innovation Mission is we are setting up Atal Community Innovation Centers. And these Community Innovation Centers would become the hubs for transmitting and creating innovations for the local communities. We are planning to set up at least 150 Community Innovation Centers. 24 of them have already been selected and they will be launched during the next 2 or 3 months. And during the next 4 or 5 years, we want every state to have at least 4 to 5 Community Innovation Centers serving rural India, the unserved, underserved regions of our country. Because only when you are able to bridge that digital divide will you be able to do something which is concrete. And that is the third pillar on which Atmanirbhar Bharat stands. The fourth pillar he talked was technology. And technology, why is technology so important? Because technology is going to permeate every aspect of our living going forward, and it is already doing that. We have 3D printing, which is revolutionizing the way manufacturing can be done in small MSME establishments. You don't need to set up a big manufacturing company in order to do manufacturing. You are having robotics and augmented virtual reality, which is going to reduce the distance and enable collaborative computing and collaborative discussion. So we are going to have technology has become available, affordable, accessible, and advanced. And that is the beauty. And therefore, if you don't leverage technology in every solution that you are doing, whether it is for infrastructure, whether it is for addressing the demographic dividend, whether it is for remote telemedicine, whether it is remote education, whether it is digital transformation of the entire country, you need to leverage technology as the fourth pillar. And the fifth pillar, finally, he mentioned was that of socio-economic growth, having uniform economic growth across the country. We cannot be just focusing on how only the few metro cities or a few smart cities can become the hubs of job innovation. Why is it not possible for us if we are a self-reliant country? The remotest districts, because of a combination of technology, our dividend, our universities which are spread around, we would be able to address the needs of every local community. And that can happen only when we leverage the combination of both social innovation as well as commercial innovation. If you do just commercially driven innovation without an idea whether it is having the positive societal impact, that will not be sustainable. And so it is very important for us to have this socio-economic growth of our country. We have still 22% of our country below the poverty line. That has to be eliminated. We have 44% of our country agri-economy based. That has to be transformed. We are having problems in affordable housing, clean drinking water and sanitation. We have problems of waste management. If you look at the city of Delhi, within the next 10 years, if you don't address that problem seriously, you need a city of the size of Delhi to hold the waste being generated in the NCR region. And that's going to be a huge hygiene problem. If you don't address the pollution problems, it's going to be a huge problem. If you don't address the energy problem, you'll have a renewable energy problem, you'll have a climate change issue. So the whole gamut of innovations and entrepreneurship that is able to address all of these challenges, look at these challenges as opportunities for development and look at these opportunities as opportunities for socio-economic impact, that is the opportunity in front of us. And then only will an Atmanirbhar Bharat happen. And an Atmanirbhar Bharat is not only about a self-reliant India, but also an India that can be a source of reliable solutions and services for the rest of the world. That is what Atmanirbhar Bharat is all about. Because we have always believed, as the Honorable Prime Minister has said, Vasudhaiva Kutumbam, we will be only able to survive if all the others survive. If there is happiness everywhere else, we will be able to be happy. And so I do believe that solutions for 1.3 billion people in this country is also a solution for the 7.8 billion people in our planet and beyond. So we need to be able to build on this 5 pillars as was eloquently brought out. And that is what Atmanirbhar is all about. And in all of this, every one of you who is on this call has an opportunity to play an important role in terms of innovation, entrepreneurship, taking up startups. It is no longer a risky area today. I mean, you have a lot of people who are willing to support you. Government is willing to support, corporate is willing to support, institutions are willing to support, and there is money in the market which can be leveraged and channelized properly for these purposes. So it is not like 10 years ago where your parent used to wonder, and my father, he said, when I was just graduating from IIT, I asked him, Dad, I've got 2 job opportunities. They have come, and he said, what are they? So I got one from Tata Group, which is a Tata company, and the other one coincidentally was CMC, which was a government organization. And the Tata Group application came in first, so I took it, and it was a wonderful experience to have been with the Tata Group for the last 30 years. And then, as luck would have it, and as destiny would have it, CMC got acquired by the Tata Group, and I also started working in CMC because of I was taken in as the managing director for that company. So the 2 companies that I got job in, I ended up working, and today I'm working with the government. But what I'm trying to say is, all of you have a chance to create your own company, and you have the opportunity today to become job creators, to become innovators, to define the future of our country the destiny of a country is dependent on all of you. And we have that opportunity, and we have the real opportunity to create Atmanirbhar Bharat. So with this, I thank you so much for the opportunity that you have given to share a few thoughts and a few ideas on this particular occasion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramanan. I quickly take some questions which I have accumulated from Facebook Live post and through our video conferencing chat box. So Jay Sudani is asking a question. He says that how do we see the future of funding opportunity from Government of India towards strengthening the ecosystem? You have already done initiatives like Tinkering Lab, Incubators and all. Is government thinking to scale those initiatives, or what are the kind of roadmaps you have in terms of for taking these efforts of Atal Innovation Mission further?
So I think the government is very focused on supporting the ecosystem through its incubators, through you not only have Atal Innovation Mission setting up incubators, you have, for example, the state governments which are also supporting the creation of incubators. We are having startups being supported through Startup India, Invest India. You have the SIP funds which are there. So there is a lot of funding sources, not only for startups, but also through various schemes and various challenges that are being thrown open by the government. But what I also seriously think, this is a watershed moment in our history where suddenly during the Y2K days, suddenly the world woke up to the capabilities of the Indian IT sector. Because of Y2K, many companies wanted to solve the problem in a very brief period of time. They did not have access to manpower or intellectual capability, so they saw India and they came to India. But what happened as a result of it, suddenly they woke up, oh, this is a fantastic place for IT related services. I mean, the knowledge capital that exists in this country is very high, and it boomed the IT market. And we have a $180 billion ITS industry as a result of it today. Similarly, this COVID-19 crisis has shown to the Indian corporates and the Indian private sector the importance of startups in addressing. If you see everything that is happening, it is all startup solutions which are enabling digital education, webinars, the Zoom. There are challenges which have been thrown by MeitY, and there have been more than 150 respondents, and they're all startup companies. So what this has brought is this close interaction between private sector and the government. And why I say this is important, it is important for the private sector to pick up the mantle now and start supporting research innovation in a very big way in the Indian market. If you look at any advanced economy, 70% of the research and innovation funding comes from the private sector, 30% comes from the government. In India, 70% comes from the government, 30% comes from the private sector. That has to change. And this is a awakening moment for the private sector and for other institutions to say, how can we also pitch in terms of CSR, in terms of supporting R&D? Because if they don't do it, it is they are bound to they will not grow the way that they have to grow. And so while the government is launching a number of schemes, and I don't see anything that is going down in terms of the government support, I think a added step up from private sector is going to greatly address the challenges of this.
Wonderful. Sir, one question comes from a student. He says that they have been got some seed fund from Student Startup and Innovation Policy from Government of Gujarat, build a product. They applied to some of the incubators in Atal Incubation Centers, somewhere in Maharashtra, got benefited also. So the question that the students are asking is, once they build the prototype, once they build the product and get some customers at their level, he says that is there a possibility that government can also help them in access to piloting within the environment? Like particularly in the context, he says that you mentioned about Delhi's waste management, huge amount of waste will come, and he seems to be working in a waste management startup. So he says that there are opportunities like this, there are challenges like this that we solve, and we are startups supported by SSIP and Government of Gujarat made decent amount of validation by now. And if you want to cross across the line and go and scale up, is there a possibility that we can go and leverage this opportunity and also solve the problem?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the reasons why we have also set up community innovation centers and we are scaling it up. Because the community innovation centers can give a platform for a pilot to be executed. If you have a startup solution and there is a validation done of the startup solution, and you can write to us and show where it has been, some more details about that startup's the current status of it, then we can apply it through our community innovation centers or through our incubators also. There are opportunities to pilot along with the local government or along with the state or the central government. So you'll have to, there are three initiatives in Atal Innovation Mission, which enables challenges to be, solutions to challenges that are there in the country. One is the Atal New India Challenges, which we launched along with ministries. 24 challenges we have launched. We got 52 winners, and each winner is being supported by 1 crore of grant to convert it to a commercially deployable product. But at the end of it, because we are working with ministries, and if there is a solution which is going to be working for that challenge, then the ministry is going to be the first buyer of that solution because they have already sponsored the solution itself, right? Similarly, we are launching what are known as ARISE challenges, Applied Research and Innovation for Small Enterprises. This is targeted towards MSME sector. So in order to trigger Make in India initiatives and to support Make in India initiatives, you need innovation in the MSME sector. So we'll be launching a series of ARISE challenges, and these challenges would be challenges which we'll launch, or they may be open calls. Open calls in the sense that, do you have a solution for climate smart agriculture? It's not that we say we want this, etc. in climate smart. We say for precision agriculture, do you have a solution? And if you have a solution and if it gets selected, then an opportunity to fund it as well as to pilot it becomes a reality.
Wonderful. One interesting information is coming from Baroda. The principal of the college said, you have given some around 400 Atal Tinkering Lab in Gujarat by now or something. And they are SSIP grantee, Student Startup Innovation Policy grantee. As a part of the SSIP, Principal Secretary Madam are written to all of the grantees to do some summer workshop boot camps for children. And this time what they have done, last 2 years, they have got all 20 plus Atal Tinkering Lab students from 5 districts and arranged boot camp on design thinking and innovation. And they say that 1 or 2 children have already thinking towards startups. So I think this is very encouraging. And this is the way this and are emerging.
Yeah. So in fact, this has been the wonderful finding. We launch every year what are known as Atal Tinkering Challenges and Atal Tinkering Marathon. And last year we had more than 50,000 students participating and creating, they all groups of 3 or 4 people who submit an innovation. And it is a real prototype. It is not an abstract idea. It is not just an essay writing contest. It is, you have to create an innovation which can be demonstrated. And out of this, we selected top 200 innovations, or out of the ones, more than 1,500 innovations got submitted. We selected the top 200. And from the top 50, we identified 8 of them to become actually products in the market. So we have our partners, we have more than 30-40 partners, corporate partners who are willing to support us in this. And you will be amazed, Hiran May, that today we have 6 of the products out on Amazon from the student world, right? From the school students world. And that's just an indication of things that are going to happen. I'm sure the next big thing will happen from India. I'm sure some of these will become huge multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies. I'm very hopeful of that because you are giving them an ecosystem. All that they need is the empowerment through tools and technologies and mentoring support. And by the way, we have also built a national Mentors of Change network. More than 10,000 mentors have registered to voluntarily help in these Atal Tinkering Labs and the Atal Incubators and startups and so on. And that's playing a huge positive role in bringing industry knowledge, competencies, expertise that you have gained over years to the benefit of the students.
Wonderful. In fact, this mentoring thing that you have mentioned is a very crucial aspect which iHub is also focusing on. And we are also creating a very, very robust network of mentors who can virtually guide these people during the COVID phase, and also will have physical interaction between the mentor and the mentee. Sir, one of the things I just like to highlight here, like you mentioned, 6 products came out of the Tinkering Lab, and they are now in Imagine under the leadership of the state government of Gujarat and Chairperson iHub. We are very soon launching a flagship platform called SSIP Mart, or Student Startup Mart. We should be one of its kind destination platform in which all the products coming out from the startups will be listed, and we will try to create market together at a platform. Because today when a startup goes to Imagine or something else, they don't get that much of visibility. But we are also trying to create a platform which will also create a single point interface for people who want to look for innovative solutions. So that is one thing that we are very soon going to activate at iHub, and Government of Gujarat is keen on getting it going because we already have a dozen products ready to take off, and they need a single point interface because we realize that the transaction cost of marketing for startups individually is quite high. And if you can do it a single point platform with the same dollar value of marketing cost, multiple people can get benefit, and this become a single point interface. So these are certain initiatives that I is very soon going to put forward. One question, sir, is coming regarding the social entrepreneurship from Tata Institute of Social Studies in Mumbai. They say that a lot of them are teaching those kind of things and how social innovators can take benefit of technology. So the question particularly is innovation can happen across domain, and technology could be only a lever to enable that. So how do you see that social entrepreneurship become a mainstream movement in the Startup India class?
No, I think, see, first of all, you have to know, I mean, we all realize that technology has become integral to any solution that is coming in the world. Okay. Take, for example, education. Now, if your social purpose is, I want to make sure that everyone in the country is educated. How are you going to do that? You have to do it leveraging technology. It is not just, you have classrooms, you don't have enough physical infrastructure, so digital infrastructure is more easily deployable. You don't have enough teachers, so you have to have remote learning. You have to be able to bring the best of teachers and the knowledge that they have to the remotest part of the country, and therefore you can have technology to do that. I mean, look at the way Baiju, for example, has grown. It is one of the hottest startups in our country. It is now valued at over $7 billion. And it started up in 2009 or 2008. And within a short period of time, it has made such an impact. Why? Because you are leveraging digital technology for the purposes of education, for the purpose of tutoring, and so on and so forth. You take telemedicine. You want to have medicine. If you're an NGO who wants to ensure that the 1 in 5 maternal mortality or the 1 in 3 infant stunting should not happen in the aspirational district, and we have 115 aspirational districts with these problems. You have to use telemedicine. You have to be able to use digital health schemes. So technology is going to play a very important role in social innovation, and it should. Okay, and if you don't have technology as a component, then you're not really going to have the impact that it is required to have. And I'm very happy to share that quite a few of our Atal incubators are social, they have social innovation as an integral part of what they're doing. For example, we have Selco Foundation, which is focusing in the Northeast. We have Encore in Bangalore. We have ALC in Hyderabad. We have ALI. Many of them are all focused on social innovation. What they are doing is they are seeing what are the startups which have a social cause that can be supported through these incubators. And once you have a social cause, you'll find the money coming in. I'll give you the example of Khan Academy. How did Khan Academy start? You had one guy who thought about, how am I going to help my nephew or niece to learn math and physics concepts better? But that person was in one city and he was in another city. So he started leveraging YouTube and started conducting those sessions. And look at where Khan Academy is today. Across the world, so many countries, more than 150 countries have adopted it. There is money pouring into him, whether it is Google, Apple, Microsoft, they're all pouring money into him. So anything that has social impact will find commercial backing and will grow. So you don't have to worry about it at all. And without that, without social innovation being an integral part of our innovation drive, India will not be able to achieve what the Honorable Prime Minister says, uniform, self-reliant, Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Wonderful, sir. Sir, you have been closely championing some of the projects in NITI Aayog and Atal Innovation Mission, in which even private sector are actively participating to contribute to this innovation and startup ecosystem. Would you like to highlight certain things? One of the vice president of Adani who is participating in this talk is asking this question.
Yeah. So first of all, I fortunately, because of my background in the private sector, I have been able to connect with a lot of private sector entities within the country and appraise them of what we are trying to do at Atal Innovation Mission. And you would be very happy to know that number of corporates have plunged into it and they are willing to support it in multiple ways. So we look at multiple ways of supporting. Number one, at the school level, we ask corporates whether you can adopt tinkering lab. You can adopt 100, 200 tinkering lab because many corporates are spread across the country. And by adopting a tinkering lab, you are encouraging innovation. You are helping your employees can get some free time or volunteer to make every tinkering lab a model tinkering lab, right? How it is supposed to work. And once you have that, then the others can learn from it. So it is like a hub and spoke mechanism where you adopt 100 tinkering labs, but those 100 tinkering labs then become the model for another 500 tinkering labs around them, right? So this is one way. The second is they can co-invest. Many of them have decided to co-invest in the tinkering lab because we want them to be sustainable beyond the duration of the grants. We have a 5-year grant period, but after 5 years also we want them to continue running. Some of the corporates have started creating tinkering labs on the model that Atal Innovation Mission is doing, and so they get integrated into that. So that's at the tinkering lab level. At the incubator and the startup level, many corporates have become partners to the Atal incubators so that they are able to support startups in the area of their interest. So if you are Adani, for example, you may want to either shipping or transportation or energy sector, whichever is your area of focus, or mining and so on. There are a number of startups and number of incubators which are either focused in a particular vertical. You have agri-tech incubators, or you have manufacturing incubators, or you have health tech incubators, or you have startups who are aligned to a solution where they are leading, so they can support them. And the third way is we want to launch challenges along with the corporate sector. So, because corporates know that these are some challenges which they have not solved, or if they had a solution, they can reduce import dependency, increase the exports. And so we want to launch those challenges, and they can launch challenges along with us, and they can be rewarded, and the winners can then be supported and so on. So even, Denmark, the Sweden, Trade Business Sweden, for example, they launched a challenge called Unnati Challenge along with Atal Innovation Mission in the healthcare sector and in the electric vehicle sector. And we had corporates from Sweden who are present in India, but who were supporting this entire initiative. And now the winners are having access to some of the labs in Sweden from these companies to be able to perfect their product and also get mentoring support. So a number of different ways in which corporates can partner with us. The whole idea is, how do you support and promote innovation and new startups in areas of relevance, both to the startups as well as to the corporates.
Wonderful. One thing which probably caught attention of all the audience, which you talked about, is 10,000 plus mentors that you have engaged across this country. Would you like to a little bit throw light on how do you exactly manage them? What kind of expectation you have from the mentors and how they respond to you? Would you like to a little bit highlight on that?
Yeah. So we have 10,000 plus mentors who registered, but we have 5,000 of them allocated to various tinkering labs. So what we did was we ran a portal called Mentors of Change portal. And even today it is open, so anybody who is interested can apply for it. And that application form says, what is the area of you? Do you want to mentor a school, a tinkering lab? Do you want to mentor a startup? Do you want to mentor an incubator? And ask details about their background and so on, because we want to match the background and their expertise to their area of interest. And secondly, we also say, select, and we have the list of Atal Tinkering Labs which have been selected and the Atal Incubators all on the website. So we tell them, you select the one which is closest to you, but give us some alternatives. Supposing you already have a mentor there, then give us 2 or 3 alternatives. And then we have a process of selection, and then we map them to the network, to the tinkering lab or to the incubator. But following this, what we do is we have a mentor of change guidelines. We have a number of sessions that we conduct for the mentor. There is an InnoNet portal, a mentor InnoNet portal that we have created. So they all become members on that portal. There is a lot of sharing of best practices between mentors. So they, hey, I'm having this problem in this tinkering lab. Has anybody had this problem and how have they solved? So there is a lot of exchange. There is a lot of learning. A lot of webinars are there. And then we have created WhatsApp groups actually now. So there is, for every state, we have mentors of regional mentors of change groups. And so that they are groups of 50 or 60 people who closely work together and who are in the similar location. Maybe in Gujarat, we have 2 or 3 such groups. So they all interact with each other and they benefit from each other's knowledge. So it's a very vibrant, it is, Hiranmay, I don't know whether there is any similar network of voluntary mentor network anywhere in the world of this size that has been created, and it is just becoming stronger and stronger. So I'm really happy with this development.
And this is going voluntarily. That's the great thing.
And voluntary, yeah, there's nothing, no pay.
Because emphasizes us many times that movements which are voluntarily driven, the mentorship sustains. No amount of incentives can replace that.
Yes,
so I think that's a very important point that you have validated. And one question, Ramananji, that I can see from the audience is, they say that you have supported more than 100 incubators in our incubation center by now, and next season is starting very soon. So there might be some startup who might have done really well, and they might be thinking to go beyond India and grow and really take the next step. Do you also work something on giving them global exposure, or at least handholding them to think big rather than just stepping down locally, serving something here and there?
Yeah. So, the way Atal Innovation Mission has taken on the responsibility is, we are not just a grant-making body. We want world-class startups and world-class incubators. Okay. Now, to world-class startup means you need to give them the necessary exposure to the venture capital market, global markets. So there are many programs that we run. For example, we ran a program with Singapore called Inspreneur 2.0 and 3.0, where 15 startups from India went and showed their, we selected 15 of the best startups, and they showed their capabilities, their products in Singapore. 15 startups from Singapore showed their products, and we had a number of venture capitalists from Hong Kong, Singapore, etc., come and see that. And now connections have been formed, and many startups have got international funding. Quite a few of Atal Innovation Mission startups have got now international funding. Is wonderful to see that. And but it's just many of them are still in the 1 year, 2 year time frame. I'm sure within the next 2 years you will have a whole lot of startups getting not only opportunities in India but also global opportunities, and we are facilitating all of this.
In fact, sir, in this line, iHub is also having a very robust plan in terms of doing inter-country and intra-country collaboration between different ecosystems to learn and share. Recently, we have got expression of interest from different incubators in African Union. We have got from Middle East, and we are trying to see that how we can create a landing pad for our startups there, and how their startups can co-create with us in India. And I think that will create a broad opportunities across boundaries, and very some of the experiences like you mentioned will be really handy. So one school student.
I do want to thank Anjuji for supporting many of our Atal Innovation Mission initiatives in not only in the higher education but also along with universities and schools and so on. So I thank you so much for supporting, because this sort of support encourages us a lot. Otherwise you're trying to just if you don't have local support in every state, it will not be possible for us to scale this program at all.
Wonderful. In fact, Ramananji, the beauty is this 100 webinar series, we started just the day lockdown was in force. Every day 4 to 5:30. Sunday is exception, 5 to 6 or something like that. Every day we open up this link to all our stakeholders. 7 lakh people are participating in 75 sessions in last 75 days. And they range from diverse sectors. I'm seeing questions from Vice Chancellor of Kutch University to school children from Rajkot. So I think the beauty in this ecosystem which is being built in Gujarat is everybody is trying to do their bit.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. When जब जनभागीदारी हो जाता है, जब सामाजिक का कह सकते हैं कि सब लोग के रोल आ जाता है, everybody try to play their role. I think that's very interesting to look how the ecosystem is organically being developed. It is not an
Hello. I think you're.
We saw school children with the tiffin boxes coming to us and making pieces. So that was really interesting for us to see that they are equally trying to benefit from all the initiatives that.
Yeah.
So that's something is interesting. Wonderful, sir. We took a lot of questions from the audience, and I'm sure that your presence has made a lot of value to all the participants today. I would now like to welcome Anju Sharma, Madam, the Principal Secretary, Higher and Technical Education. With her guidance, the Student Startup Innovation Policy took roots in the state, and now Gujarat Student Startup and Innovation Hub has come up. We have a long vision to build innovation ecosystem.
Thank you, Dr. Ramanan. We've been working with you for the last. We've been working with you for the last 4 years on startups and incubation processes through the Atal Innovation Mission, and you have always been a pillar of uh, constant support to us. So, on behalf of SSIP Education Department of Government of Gujarat, I thank you that you could spare time to be with us on a Sunday. And I'm told there was some confusion, so I'm really very sorry for that. But your presence was very inspiring to all the viewers and especially to all of us at SSIP and the iHub team. The iHub has been taking, other than all the steps that SSIP has been taking to promote startups across the educational institutions in Gujarat, and we've largely succeeded in that. We've taken up around 3,000 innovative projects in the last 3 years, and more than 650 patents have been filed, and more than 600 startups have been created because of SSIP. So now, now through iHub, we are promoting a lot of startup and innovation culture in Gujarat by pooling all the resources and by providing a one-point contact to the startups where they can get all the help they require, including mentoring, any other support. So we have created a mentor pool. We are also taking up a lot of capacity building programs for the faculty members, for the potential startups, and this webinar series is a part of that. It started a startup clinic program also, where anyone who's wanting to who's wanting to take up start a startup or have a startup, they can contact us through this clinic, and they can try to fix the problems that they have been having in their startup. And also, if they don't know where to start, they can get guidance on where to start, including issues like accounting, company, legal issues, compliance issues, marketing issues, finance issues, everything they can get. Because see, one has to understand that this is a journey where our participants are people who are very enthusiastic and vibrant, but then they may not have the resources and the caliber to take up such challenging jobs. But that's what they say, that what is required for successful execution of the project is is it jazba jisko kehte hain ki it's the feeling that is behind it, or the drive. So, and that drive is able to break mountains. So our startups and our young partners, they're doing it very well through your support, through the support of all the agencies. And I seek your support in the coming days also. We'll be collaborating more effectively and largely. So thank you so much for being with us here today. We're really grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. I think this was a very wonderful inspiration from you. And I think the collaboration between the innovators, entrepreneurs, public policy institutions is the real agreement for building a very progressive ecosystem in the country. And Ramanan sir, you rightly mentioned the 5 pillars and how innovators and entrepreneurs can play a critical role in taking those things forward. Recently, we had a dedicated session, a dedicated program called Innovate While You Isolate. So this is something that we started in 1st of April, and we get 30 days for submitting application for innovators and entrepreneurs who have some solution to offer for COVID-19 and similar areas. And interestingly, we got 700 teams proposals. The first round of shortlist went to 390 teams. And now we are expecting around 200 odd teams getting financial support from Student Startup Innovation Policy to take their proof of concept to end users level. And this is rightly, probably you mentioned about the grand challenges and all. And this is going to be very, very important in building the ecosystem in which directly our young students and young faculty members get an opportunity to closely work with challenges which we really face in the daily life. And hand in hand with Atal Innovation Mission and all of your flagship programs, on behalf of Government of Gujarat and iHub and Student Startup Innovation Policy and all the universities who are participating in this co-creation, they will definitely bring some amazing outcome. And one of the interesting thing, Ramanan sir, which you will agree, what probably Gujarat is uniquely doing compared to other states in terms of ecosystem building is we are more about a hub and spoke ecosystems. Everybody has a place to play, everybody has a role to offer, and everybody has a distinctive USP to deliver. So, for example, one university is focusing on social innovation, one university is focusing on agriculture, one university is focusing on healthcare, one university is focusing on defense, one is on forensic sciences. And what Gujarat Student Startup and Innovation Hub is trying to do actually is to give them a lever to take their ideas, innovation, and enterprises to the next level, so that we can create a healthy collaborative environment between all our stakeholders while have a sweet competition among each other to understand what is the strength that we can ride upon and really create a very amalgamated ecosystem which can really drive things to take forward. So while I will be thanking you from a profound thank on behalf of the entire ecosystem for finding your time in the late afternoon today, I would like to have your parting comments for the today's session about how do you see Gujarat innovation startup ecosystem down the line 5 years, where we can really make some significant impacts and to make a really vibrant Atmanirbhar Bharat. I think, sir, your microphone is. Ramanan, sir, your speaker phone seems to be off.
Yeah. Thank you, Hiranmai, for both, the opportunity to share a few thoughts as well as your comments. I do think, first of all, I want to compliment the entire state of Gujarat for being very proactive in driving innovation, in driving entrepreneurship at a school level, at a university level, at the institutional level, and so on. And that is reflected by the fact that we have some of our very good Atal tinkering labs there. We have some of our best incubators also operating from there. And I think that is a huge positive future. But you also have a very strong ecosystem of, Gujarat has always been known for entrepreneurship. I mean, forget about the modern entrepreneurship. Even otherwise, the people of Gujarat have been entrepreneurs by their very nature. So this is something that will resonate very well in the state of Gujarat, and in many other states. You can become a model. So you should strive to do that. My comments are, first, I think the ecosystem that you are setting up, the hub and spoke ecosystem, that is an excellent model, and that is something that we should build so that you can create these hubs which can support the spokes, and then you can see how a spoke can become another hub, and so on and so forth, so that it spreads. I also think that the industry, which is, you have a very strong industry base, you have companies like Adani, you have Reliance, and so on. All of these companies can play a very important role. So how do you ensure that you have outreach events? You see, our universities, we always have a chief placement officer in a university. But I think that is a model from where you have to move out. You should have a chief placement officer, but that is for job seeking. How about job creation? And if you want a job creation, then you need a chief research and innovation and entrepreneurship officer in every university. And that person's role should be, how am I going to create maximum number of startups and entrepreneurs from this through interaction with the private sector. And now the chief placement officer interacts with all the companies, private sector companies, in order to give employment to the students. But you should also have a parallel role for encouraging startups and incubation. So you should have like a chief officer of research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And I would advocate that. And the third is, how do we ensure that a lot of research, I think AICT is doing a wonderful job of having established this 1,000 innovation cells. But from my point of view, a world-class university, every world-class university should have a world-class incubator. Why? Because you're not giving the students from that, the talented, innovative students who have a spark in their eye, a fire in the belly, you're not giving them the opportunity for a startup if you don't have an incubator in that particular university or in a close by associated university. So if you want to become a world-class university, you should have a world-class incubator, which is going to foster world-class startups. And how do we make that happen? Through introducing innovation cells, through introducing innovation education, integrating in the curriculum. But more importantly, I think, some of the universities that I know, private sector, they have this, they allow the final year project, the BTech project or the MTech project, to be actually an innovation project for the community. So why don't we just make it as an innovation project for the community, because we are introducing automatically the person to problem identification, problem solving with a real impact, rather than some theoretical paper that they write, which would many times it is a cut and paste just to get that particular degree, right? So how do we convert that into an innovation project or an entrepreneurial project benefiting the community, and thereby inducting them into the joys of innovation and the joys of entrepreneurship, and that will stand them in good stead as they move into the future.